Hey ladies, have you heard the news? I have an amazing intuitive eating principles series right here on the podcast. And to help you dig deeper into your relationship with food and body, I have created a downloadable workbook that goes right along with the series. This is going to help you dig a little deeper into your own health, your own food story, and eating experience. Included is a weekly release of workbook pages, which will have a summary of key points from the episode, a personal notes section, and here's the most important part, you're going to have bonus reflection questions to go along with each of the episodes. This is going to help you dig a little deeper, understand yourself and your relationship with food and body better. You can purchase this workbook at any time and go through episodes 133 to 143. This workbook that I've created is for someone who is brand new to intuitive eating, just starting to learn. This is also for somebody who has really no idea what intuitive eating is at all. This workbook is also helpful if you have been on the intuitive eating journey and you just want to continue on that and dig a little deeper. Head to healthcoachforlife.com/IE workbook or head into the show notes of any of the episodes from the series. Hey ladies, welcome to the Health, Life, and More for Women podcast. I'm your host, Jennifer D'Amato. This is episode 135. We are discussing principle number 2 of intuitive eating, honoring your hunger. Now, if you listened last week right to the end, you know this is my absolute favorite principle to discuss. I love something about all of them, but honest to goodness, there's like so many things to unpack in this principle, so many things that are wonderful to explore and implement. I can't tell you like how freeing and maybe even how much work I put into this for myself to honor my hunger. All right, a couple of notes here. The first thing I think is really important to say that I don't think I addressed when we did episode 133 was these principles are in order to help provide a framework. And I know I talked about that a little bit, but I just want to encourage you. These principles don't have to be done in the order that they're taught, that I'm talking about them, that they're in the intuitive eating book. I would say, within my own client work, they don't follow this order because, like I did say in episode 133, where we talked about what is intuitive eating, what it's not, there are no hard and fast rules, and this is personalized work. That's the beauty of intuitive eating. And I'll say, I have some clients who really don't struggle with honoring their hunger. They're really struggling with making peace with food or feeling fullness in their body or emotional eating. Like those are the greater needs. We might start there. Now, I want to also say, I think it's important to note that the reason this is listed as principle 2, I think in my own mind, and maybe it's in the book somewhere, and I don't remember, having read it so long ago now, but if you're not eating, if you're still under eating, if you're not allowing yourself to eat food, it's hard to pay attention to what's going on in your body. It's hard to ignite those signals. It's hard to feel fullness, make peace with food. It's hard to do any of the other work if you're not eating. So honoring your hunger, being principle 2, has a specific purpose. But there are clients who sometimes come to me and honoring their hunger is not the greatest need because it's something that they are doing. So I just want to make sure I kind of mention all of that. And as you heard at the beginning, of course, there is a workbook that goes along with this entire series. I hope by now you've grabbed that. It's low cost. For 11 weeks, it's $40. There's key points of everything I talk about. There's a place for you to take your own notes, write down any questions you have, and there's also bonus reflection questions. So you can dig deeper for yourself. Again, if this work is personalized, and we do believe that at the core, then I want you to be able to go into your own story with each of these principles and be able to get curious and understand yourself and your relationship with food and body better. So today we are diving into principle number 2, honor your hunger, my favorite principle. Can I make a song about it? Oh my gosh, if I could sing, I would. Everyone said, please don't. And here we are. Let's move on and talk about this principle. I think the most important thing to understand is that hunger is a biological cue that your body gives you. So when I talk about intuitive eating as getting back to how your body was created before diet culture and these negative messages about food entered into your life, your body would signal to you, hey, I'm hungry. Now, we can use the example of a newborn baby. I can definitely think of my own 4 children as infants and definitely as toddlers. Oh my goodness. Because as babies, there's just this cry, right? This primal cry. And sometimes it starts off as, kind of a softer cry. But most of the time, all they know is full blown, I'm going to yell so loud until you feed me. So toddlers are a little bit better example, I think, of this, where they get a signal in their body and they're looking for food. They want to eat. Now, you can even watch a toddler who hasn't been able to get food yet. And I'm thinking of like a prime example, driving in the car, whether we're driving home from somewhere on a trip and I just am not able to get a snack to my kiddo and really didn't like feeding them in the car when I couldn't like watch them. Like that just didn't make me feel comfortable when they were really little. So we'd have to wait. And what would happen inevitably is they'd get louder, angrier, moodier, scream, cry, and throw themselves a fit because they were hungry. I think a lot of people associate hunger with that kind of feeling. Now, I don't think as adults you're screaming, crying, and throwing a tantrum, but if you are, I'm not judging you. I can actually see why you would be because you're freaking hungry. You are ravenous. You're having a shift in your mood, possibly to anger, frustration. Maybe you're a little snippy, a little witchy. There's that term, right? I know some people don't like it, but we're just going to use it because it's easy, because it combines hunger, which is your biological signal, and that mood shift, which is usually angry. And we come up with the word hangry. I wish I had had this term when I was younger because I felt like, yeah, that's what I was all the freaking time. Now, our body's giving us cues, and I think again about that toddler, there were cues before hangry. Your body has these nice, gentle, subtle ways of telling you, hey, it's time to eat something. Unfortunately, it's not that we're in this car and we can't get the snack. We're not that toddler anymore. We've been taught ignore, mute, wait, drink some water, have some gum, do anything but honor that hunger. Now, when you think about that from a biological level, like that's ludicrous. The only reason I didn't give my, kiddo, my little toddler, a snack in the car was I didn't want her to choke and maybe driving, on the roads and not be able to get to her. I mean, that's a real concern. Why are we denying hunger as adults, as teenagers, in our 20s? Like, why are we doing that? You know why. We believe that if we deny our hunger, we'll eat less and we'll lose weight because we've believed we need to. You see how that's all connected? There's no other reason to deny hunger except this belief that I need to lose weight, this belief that I need to be in a smaller body, this belief that I'll be healthier if I lose weight. Now, I hold no judgment at all that we have these beliefs. I literally held that belief for the majority of my life. What if we didn't judge our hunger, but instead looked at it as our body telling us something? I mean, that's what it is. I'm not saying anything profound. I get that. But we do have thoughts attached to hunger signals. Sometimes food guilt starts with hunger signals. Sometimes fear of food starts with hunger signals. So it's no wonder we want to put them on mute. We don't want to hear them. We want to suppress them. But how does that really go? Because there is only so long your body is willing to deny hunger signals. If you've ever felt like, I was quote unquote, like here's my air quotes, good all day, didn't eat that much. But then at night, I had no control, lost all control. If that's ever happened to you, I want to just, first of all, give you like the virtual hug, like everyone needs for that. But tell you it's because you've denied your hunger. There's nothing wrong with you, except your body's like, listen, if you're not going to feed me all day, I'm going to find a way to get that nourishment, to get that energy that I need, and I get it from food. Your body is going to honor that hunger one way or another. One example that is always used within this work is imagine if you held your breath in the pool, right? You went underwater and you held your breath for as long as you could. How would you come up out of that water? Would you be breathing normally? Or would you be gasping for that air, trying to get as much oxygen as you could, right? Until you felt in control. That's exactly what happens when we deny our hunger and then come up for air. Then we give ourselves food, right? We feel out of control because we're just trying to catch up to what our body really needed. Something we don't talk about very often is, as human beings, our hunger can vary from day to day. I've noticed this in myself. I actually was doing some self-observation, and there's just some days I'm like ravenous. I don't know, all day. I always blame hormones. Sometimes I blame the weather. Honest to goodness, I blame the weather on most things. It's really not true. It's really just how our body works. There are some days your body just needs more. Maybe you have done more activity. Maybe you are really tired, you didn't sleep well, and your body's like, I have to get energy somehow. I can't take a nap. I'm working all day. There are other days I'm just not as hungry. When you are immersed in diet culture, when your focus is on your weight, these things that naturally happen come with a side of judgment. When you come from the lens of intuitive eating, you see this as completely normal. What I love to keep in mind, and I'd love for you to keep in mind as you focus on honoring your hunger, is hunger keeps you alive. That signal that you have in your body that tells you, hey, time to eat something. And definitely that signal that says, if you don't eat something, we're about to let loose on every human being and anything and everyone around us, is keeping you alive. Now, we don't want to only honor, we want to honor hunger, but we don't want to only be honoring the kind of hunger that feels like hangry, that feels aggressive, that feels like it's screaming at us, because we then don't want to honor that. It doesn't feel good. What we want to do is start tapping into those sensations and feelings in our body and in our thoughts that says, hey, you're hungry. I always say, like, that version is so gentle. It's like the kind voice. My kids, kind of laugh and say, you have that voice when you're, kind of talking on the phone with someone, and it's just so sweet and upbeat. And that's the kind of voice I want to honor when it comes to hunger. Not the one when I've reminded my kids to do something like 4 times, and that, 5th time I've lost my crap. I don't want that version of hunger being honored. It happens. There are times, just like the toddler in the car, where things have happened, I haven't put things in place, and I get hangry. I don't judge that. Did you hear that? I don't judge it when it happens. It just doesn't happen as frequently anymore because I really am attuned to what my body is saying. Now, I think honoring your hunger is where I see diet culture and the weight loss industry coming in and trying to take over, because they turn honoring your hunger into another diet rule, into a you must follow this perfectly. And I can remember having been trained as a certified health coach. You eat when you're hungry, you stop when you're full, and it becomes this rigid rule. And it never really quite worked for me because I'm like, well, what if I'm not hungry, but my kid made me something? What if I'm not really hungry, but I know I'm going to be out for hours? I have all these things going on, so I'm going to eat a little something before I go so I don't get hangry. There are different types of hunger and different ways that we honor our hunger. I don't have a problem with the rating scale necessarily, 1 to 10, and, wanting to honor our hunger when it's lower on that scale. We don't want to get up all the way to that 10. Like, I get that. There's nothing wrong with it. However, when it becomes the rule, when it becomes a hard and fast, when it becomes you're outside of these parameters, it's really not intuitive eating. Hunger is a need that our body has. It needs to be honored. So intuitive eating is helping you heighten that awareness of those signals that your body's giving you to fulfill this need you have. And then there's the mind-body connection. You can use critical thinking and make decisions that are best for you. Do you see where all of this comes together outside of diet culture? That when we are honoring our hunger and we're not putting it into some rule or some rigid space, that we're using a guideline for ourselves, for that personalized work of what our body needs. My hunger needs are different than your hunger needs. My hunger needs today might be different than my hunger needs tomorrow. Something I do that I find extremely valuable, I do it for myself and I do it within my practice, is I propose this idea that you kind of try on, you live with, you just even practice this as a new thought. Honoring your hunger is a form of self-care. Now, you might love self-care as getting your nails done, your hair, bubble bath, quiet time, whatever that is. Could we put hunger in that same category? That honoring your hunger is, I think, one of the highest forms of self-care. You are taking care of a basic need your body has. You literally cannot survive without food. Food is good. It's good for you. And I know you've probably spent so much time in diet culture believing maybe the complete opposite. Maybe you have spent years denying hunger. So therefore, hunger comes with a whole lot of messages, a whole lot of negative feelings, emotions, and thoughts. It's okay that that's where you are right now. But when you dive into this principle, I do have some reflection questions in the workbook to go there, to see that this is something your body needs. Your body does talk to you, and there's some ways you can wake that up and start heightening your awareness around those signals. Now, at the beginning, I said, this is my favorite principle. And I'll tell you, this is my favorite because I started eating. I can remember feeling like, whoa, that's my stomach. Oh my gosh, like I feel it. I've had clients do the same thing, like, Jen, my stomach was talking to me, and guess what? I honored it. Like, I got up and got myself something to eat. I've had clients go from being lightheaded and dizzy and not feeling well at all to just saying it just went away because they've been honoring their hunger. They're no longer experiencing that. It didn't happen overnight. It didn't happen overnight for me. It doesn't happen overnight for them. And for you, it's going to be your story. It might happen quickly. It might take time to reignite those signals and for you to trust them. Those are two different things. Feeling them, acknowledging them, but then also trusting this is what my body's saying. Those are two different things, and it does take time. But the reward of honoring your hunger is the beginning of so much peace and trust with your body. If you have the workbook, you'll even notice this week that I linked some other podcast episodes and you get a direct link to the Food and Feelings Journal. I believe so much in this principle of honoring your hunger that it really is opening the door for us to do all of the other work on the other principles that I wanted to give you those as part of this episode as well. So if you didn't grab the workbook, head into the show notes, grab it now. I mean, this is chock full. This entire series is going to be chock full, but this one right here, my favorite, had to add some extra bonus things in there for you. All right, this is kind of entering into our next principle because when we're talking about having more peace because we're honoring our hunger, we can start talking about making peace with food. All right, I look forward to the next episode for Principle 3, Making Peace with Food, next week.